It is Halloween season, which of course means everyone's looking for scary movies to watch. I feel like for me and other horror fans, it's basically Halloween all year round, but I thought this was the perfect time to make some recommendations. Now, Netflix isn't generally known for its horror selection, so if you're into like the really hardcore stuff, you might be a little bit disappointed, but it's definitely got its gems and some movies that I think are genuinely scary. So let's go ahead and get into it. My first recommendation is going to be the most recent release on this list, and certainly a well-known one, but I had to include it, and that is Talk to Me. This one was from the directors that came from YouTube, who I wasn't personally aware of, so I had no expectations going into this, but I was pretty blown away, to be honest. Talk to Me is about a group of friends that have discovered how to conjure spirits using this hand statue thing. They basically become obsessed with using it, and of course things progress till they become dangerous. This is kind of like a twist on a very classic horror setup. You know, we've seen so many movies where it's a group of teens trying to contact spirits through a Ouija board or something similar to that. So to have these characters to have found a way to allow spirits to possess them, but it's something that excites them even more than it scares them. That in itself is so interesting, and I think also like scarily accurate to how some groups of teenage friends might actually react in this kind of situation. They become addicted to it almost like it's a drug. It's such a great setup with a ton of genuinely unsettling and creepy moments. And it also gets unexpectedly violent at times, which I did not expect going into it the first time. Yeah, they do not hold back, and it's definitely worth a watch. Up next is Incantation from 2022. This is a Taiwanese horror movie that is apparently based off a true story. Of course, you have to always kind of take that label with a grain of salt. But this film follows a woman that's trying to protect her child from a curse. I think the best way to explain the general vibe of this movie is just to read you the description. On Letterboxd it says, "Warning, this is a cursed video. It might contain certain risks to watch. For those who dare to follow, please solve the puzzle of my daughter's curse with me." So it's clear that's what they were going for, and it really does feel like that. Like it feels like I'm accidentally summoning a demon or something by putting it on. So if that's the vibe you're into, I guess I would recommend it. It's definitely got some scary moments for sure. This is the kind of movie you should watch with friends and like turn all the lights off and watch in candlelight just to add to the atmosphere. Also, just as a side note, I know a lot of people get put off by foreign language films, and I get reading subtitles can sometimes feel like a chore, but if you take anything from this video, I would say to give some of them a chance. Especially if you're a horror fan, I feel like you're really missing out on some incredible movies. But if subtitles are a no-go for you, there is an English dubbed version of this on Netflix, if that's what you would prefer. My next suggestion is The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and I feel like this one has been on Netflix for quite a while now, but I don't necessarily see it get discussed as often as other movies, so I'm sure there's still a ton of people that haven't seen it. Either way, this movie follows a father and son that work together performing autopsies. One night they receive an unidentified corpse without a clear cause of death. As they begin to examine her through the night, things begin to make less and less sense, with bizarre details that don't seem humanly possible. This is a super creepy one. I love the mystery element and like figuring out all these little clues along the way with the characters. There's some really fun and well set up scares in this, like this one corpse that has the little bell tied around its ankle. That's one of those moments where the second you learn that, you know it's going to come back again later. This film is also big on the jump scares, although saying that a lot of these recommendations are. So just be prepared for that, I guess. Up next is Veronica. This is a Spanish movie from 2017, and this is another one that's based off a true story, apparently. After losing her father, a teenage girl holds a seance with her friends at school to try and contact him, and unsurprisingly, things go downhill from that point. Back at home, where she looks after her younger siblings, she begins to suspect an evil force has entered their apartment. This movie had a ton of articles when it dropped on Netflix about being the scariest horror movie ever, or that people couldn't even finish it, and I think that's overselling it quite a bit personally, so don't let that set your expectations too high. But this has a lot of the style of scares that really get me personally. Those types of moments where you're not sure if you see something lurking in the corner, or that kind of like heavy silence that may or may not be leading up to a jump scare. It's also got some really incredible performances in it, which really add to the overall scariness, and it might honestly be like the most underrated suggestion on this whole list. I might be speaking to the wall with this last recommendation because I feel like this movie was everywhere and everyone saw it, but in case you didn't, you should watch Smile. This movie follows a doctor of mental health that witnesses one of her patients commit a traumatic incident. Soon after, she begins to experience her own frightening occurrences, which are eerily similar to what that very same patient was experiencing. I remember when the trailers came out for this movie, I wasn't overly excited. I thought it looked like a much more basic kind of mainstream horror that would be more tame, but this movie really surprised me. I was not expecting it to be so intense and genuinely scary. Some of the places it goes, especially in that ending scene, there's some like horrifying and shocking stuff going on in here for sure. So if you were maybe one of the horror fans that like shrugged this one off because of it being more mainstream, you should definitely still give it a chance. And Smile 2 literally just came out recently in the cinemas, so maybe you can give the original a watch and go see the sequel if you liked it.
I have to face it.
How does it make you feel?
But that is going to be my 5 recommendations. If there are any movies on Netflix that you find scary that I missed, let me know. I'm a completely brand new horror channel, so subscribing or liking would be super encouraging for me, and it would let me know to make more videos like this one. So thank you for watching.